Welcome to Boss Pod EP07. On this podcast, I have live conversations with creators from all walks of art to open the dialogue artist to artist about the creative process and how you can turn your raw talents into a plan of success for your work to be heard and seen. So that's what we talk about here on Boss Pod. And if you like what you hear by the end of the episode and you want to support the podcast, visit my Patreon, patreon.com/Shinova, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Shinova, where all Boss Pod episodes are uploaded. Also, follow me here on Instagram at ShinovaWeirdo to watch the podcast live every Sunday at 11 Pacific time in the morning and be a part of the conversation and chat. After this live recording here on Instagram, these episodes are then distributed to all podcast outlets, including Anchor and Spotify. And you can find this episode, as well as my previous episodes of Boss Pod, on my website, shinova.co/bosspod. So with that out of the way, today's conversation, I'm going to be talking with two pop artists, and I want to explore the mindset behind the music. Like I said, we're going deep today, y'all. Just get ready. As creators, we all have this inner dialogue with ourselves that either can help or hurt our process. For me, I have had to really challenge that voice throughout my career, and even now still have to tame the beast, if you will, because the mind is a very powerful thing, and as creators, it can get in the way. I think it's kind of in our DNA as artists in general to kind of have tendencies of self-doubt or perfectionism or even arrogance and ego that can get in the way of us being honest with ourselves and our art and getting better. And we're constantly having to kind of check this, and it directly impacts what we do. So I have faced a lot of these inner demons throughout my career, and that have held me back from what I really want to create and what I'm really trying to say. Too many to name, but the two that kind of stand out in what I have struggled with is paralysis by perfectionism and I need to get discovered paradigm. So both of those held me back in my mind for honestly years, and overcoming those kind of very personal, normal human things is tricky because it directly impacts what we do. I believe that our line of work really puts these personal challenges in the spotlight because our art makes us have to go deeper, having to address what experiences we're going through and more personal, intimate things about ourselves. We put that in our art. So if we're not functioning as humans and we're having these conflicts with ourselves inside, that's directly going to impact how deep we can put ourselves in our art. And that's our work. So as artists, I think it's a gift though, because facing ourselves more and more than we can put ourselves into our art more. And then that helps others discover themselves more. So it's a beautiful circle of enlightenment, and it's why art can make us feel things that like nothing else can. And as I share my heart today, and we continue with this line of thought, we're going to move into our first free flow conversation. Our first guest is a storyteller through song, of course, and she's a multi-instrumentalist based in Nashville. She has performed her music at many festivals, including Common Ground, Breakaway, and South by Southwest, and has opened for Marina's Trench during their US tour. I don't know if you've heard any of their music, but they got lots of views on YouTube. That's all I have to say. I looked them up. I hadn't heard them, but then I realized that they have all these crazy songs. Okay. She also hosts her own live show on Instagram every Saturday called I Eat Vibes for Breakfast, which I have joined her on a few weeks ago. She's a sweet soul, go-getter attitude. Please welcome Juliana Hale. Hi, sweetheart.
Hello. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
Good. I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Of course, and I hope that my introduction did some justice. I tried to cover everything because you sent me quite a few things about you.
Yeah, I didn't know what to send. Anxiety. I'm always just better send more than not enough.
Yeah, no, totally. So you live in Nashville. You're a songwriter. Can you give us just a quick background about where you started in music?
I started writing songs when I was 9, and I got really, really into Taylor Swift. So it was just me and my guitar writing songs. And then I moved to Nashville. My whole family actually moved with me to do music because I wanted to do country music. So I was writing songs, and I just knew it was what I wanted to do immediately. And I started learning new instruments. So anyway, I moved out to Nashville and started playing in bars when I was like 10. And then the last 2 years I've been pursuing pop music. Is when I really like found that lane. So for the last 2 years I've just been working with a lot of different producers and luckily playing a lot of festivals, which is my favorite, and just touring everywhere, which has been really fun. So that's kind of my journey. But a big part of my journey, especially the last year, has just been like trying to find myself as an artist and like have like kind of like the confidence you were talking about with like in the introduction, but having that same problem. So I think that's a huge part of every artist journey. So that's been my main focus for the last year.
Yeah, identity is a huge thing, and I actually have a song called Identity because it's such a thing for me. Like, I literally have existential crises and like who the freak am I epiphanies like almost on a weekly basis. Like like I'm always trying to figure out who I am, and I think it's just like I said, part of being an artist. I think we're all a little bit more introspective. We have to have this sensitivity to ourselves and what's going on in our hearts to do what we do. So how have you kind of navigated that, exploring who you are and how to put that in your music? With therapy?
It's been hard. So I feel like I finally realized about a year and a half ago, I'm a people pleaser, which is like where a lot of my issues come in. So I was making music that like I felt other people would like, basically. So for the last year, I almost stopped writing with other people and really just got down to like what I was trying to say and who I was as an artist. So I really just started like refining kind of like influences, what like I wanted my specific sounds to be. And then just like topics that I felt were important to me. And so I started doing that and just writing and finishing more songs on my own, and then kind of started to realize like my own identity. So I just spent a lot of time alone, basically.
And so what did you find the difference was? Like, what topically, what were you saying to please people rather than what you really wanted to say for you?
I feel like it was like really like a sound that I was trying to make. Like I was trying to make that, like once I decided to go pop, I was like, oh, I gotta make like this like pop sound. I'm like this pop music. So I was like, yeah, my inspirations are like so like Dua Lipa. I want to sound just like, I don't know, I just wanted to sound more like what was already out there instead of just sounding like myself. And then topic wise, I feel like I've always written extremely from the heart, which was like the difference was, so I had like generic sounding music, and then like I felt like my lyrics were very still like from the heart. So I just kind of dug more into that, and I feel like opening up in songwriting is so difficult almost because like you're writing and you obviously want people to hear it, so you're writing for other people, but you almost have to write as if nobody's ever going to hear it. And you have to be like so almost like painfully honest. I feel like it's a very emotional experience.
Definitely. And I think there's multiple ways to go about it that can be honest. You know, in country music specifically, kind of where you've lived for, you know, years before, it's a very A to B story, linear kind of process that you take the listener through. That it's like, we started on the front porch and now we're in the backyard kissing, like whatever, you know, it's very visual and it's like A, B, C, D, and then you like flow through it. But Sia is one of my biggest inspirations songwriting wise because she's a bit more abstract. And for me personally, I have found it's a little bit of a decoding process because emotion is so languageless. And trying to decode how you feel and putting that in some very boundaried language is really challenging. So finding abstract kind of more emotional broken pieces of how things feel has worked for me because then it becomes more universal too. So then you end up pleasing other people. I don't know, how abstract do you find your concepts going right now?
I like to get very abstract, to be honest, because I did like grow up with country music for so long, and it is so like A, B, C, D. I found myself just like, I wanted more metaphors. I wanted less like, oh, they're on the porch and now they're inside, and more like, where is this porch? Well, actually, one of my favorite quotes about songwriting is from Taylor Swift, and I mean, she's kind of like, she's like the queen of storytelling to me. Like, even if you don't like her voice or anything, she knows how to like tell a story and relate to people. And she always said that the specifics, or the word like relatability is found in the specifics. So like almost saying like, oh, it was a Tuesday. For some reason you would think people would relate to that less because like how many things happen on a Tuesday, but then it's kind of like you strike those people like kind of like more in their heart when you do say some detail and they kind of believe you more. So that's one huge thing with songwriting is like not being afraid to be specific to your own life and not writing just to be general and being like, oh, I'm just going to use general words and just like throw the word love around and everything just because people are going to relate to it. But instead like using like specific details from your life. And it might feel weird because obviously if you're writing specific details about your life, you're probably writing about somebody, and one day you're going to put it out. So it might feel weird to you to be like, oh yeah, that coffee shop on 12th Street. They're like, oh, that's about me. But I think it's really important. So that's one thing. I just think like the whole journey is just like being comfortable with being so like raw and emotional.
Yeah, totally. And so besides the trying to find out who you are to then put it in your art, what other challenges did you find along the way when opening up with yourself? Was there any other blocks that you faced? Because I know I've had so many inner demons as far as creative process.
There's definitely been so many, just like self-judgment. Perfectionism is a huge thing that just kills creativity. I actually have a quote on one of my guitar cases I painted that talks about how perfectionism is like a threat to creativity, basically.
Yep.
And just, yeah, self-judgment, and then just insecurity and like being scared to try new things. I worked with a new vocal producer the last weekend, and I was trying all kinds of things vocally that were definitely very far out of my ballpark. And if somebody hadn't been into like pushing me independent of myself, I never would have tried, and I'm glad I did. I actually learned a lot this weekend kind of on the basis what we're talking about. I learned a lot about emotional singing and like emotive singing this weekend. I always thought I had been an emotional singer, and then he kind of phrased it to me that it's kind of more like acting, and you just have to feel every single word, and every word has to be intentional. And he, like every take I would do, he'd be like, oh, I don't believe you. He's like, I don't believe a word you just said. Wow. And so I had to like keep singing until he like felt like he believed the words coming out of my mouth. So that was actually a huge block for me that just got lifted like 4 days ago.
Good for you.
Exciting.
You know, I had a similar thing because I used to work with one of the Black Eyed Peas producer, and I was working with one of his projects as partners, but he also just was mentoring me and like giving me so much good input when I came in kind of raw, if you will, into the project, being out of my genre and everything. He would say that I was singing. I was like, I was singing. Stop singing.
Yeah, that's what he would say too.
Just say what you mean. You know what I mean? Like, he always talked about more swag, but it's what he was really trying to say is say it like you're talking to someone. You know,
be intentional.
Exactly. So yeah, and it's really important, even though it seems like a small thing and more of like a skill thing. It is mental. Singing is so mental. Like I have to trick myself all the time because the second you start overthinking, you start getting tense, and then all of a sudden your vocal cords are like this, and then you're gonna sound completely different. It becomes physical.
It does. I feel like you definitely have to get out of your head and almost in your head, out of your head and like in your heart, I guess maybe, because I'll notice like when I really want to sing like with my heart, I almost have to like muster up the emotions in me. Like if I'm singing something sad, I just get like overwhelmed with sadness, and I'm like, now I'm ready to sing this song. Like you have to almost put yourself back in those positions and like almost reimagine like the situations.
That is exactly like acting too. Your vocal coach is right. That's acting. The moment before and all that stuff. Because I used to be in acting, and that's what you do. You set yourself up, and if you don't relate to what it is, you find another situation that you do relate to that makes you feel that same emotion, so that you can get into it. So
exactly.
There's
like, what makes you sad? And I'm like, oh, so many things. I'll get sad emotion in here. Luckily, I have like a photographic memory, so I'll just like picture certain things that make me just like wreck.
Lucky puppies, dead puppies. Just
something.
No, that would just make me like unable to sing.
You'd just be like sobbing. Yeah.
So I want to talk about the paralysis of perfectionism and what you're talking about with the vocals, that you were afraid to try new things. I think that directly stems from the fear of not being perfect, of not sounding good. I don't want to try new things because, oh my God, what if I suck, you know? And that was a big part of my journey, and I think live streaming actually cured me of this, because I stream on Twitch, and when you're just there for hours singing stuff, there's no editing, that's it. If you make a mistake, ta-da, there it is. So it really cured me, though, because I realized that no one freaking cares if you mess up. You're the only one that's gonna freaking not sleep about it. beating yourself up. So learning that has been really monumental for me. Have you found a similar relief?
Yes, for sure. Actually, just like performing live. Yeah, if you mess up, you could definitely sit up there on stage and sweat about it and make everybody feel uncomfortable
Or make a
as
face,
uncomfortable
like,
as you. Yeah,
right.
and or just like freeze up afterwards. So definitely, yeah, like live streaming or just live situations definitely helps you with the perfectionism. And I think a large part of it, especially in the studio, is making sure that you're around people that you feel comfortable enough to mess up around, which is also a large part on the producer as well. Like they should be trained in their field to a point where they can make people feel comfortable enough to mess up.
Right.
So if you're a producer and you make people feel like terrible for not getting a perfect take or something, then you're a bad producer, honestly. But also just being able to like feel comfortable. And I guess that's also a certain confidence that you probably would get from live streaming or like live music. I almost said live musicking, to be completely honest with you. So I had to stop myself.
Well, I mean, I've messed up so many times that it's like you just kind of start to live with it. You just have to live with it. And I decided that beating myself up and not loving myself through that was the only thing holding me back, because literally everybody else in the chat is like, oh, she's more real. Oh, cool, she's learning. Oh, this is her process. So I get to see all the mistakes behind the scenes. Like, they're excited about it.
People want to know that you're like human, and because you can't have a perfect performance, and it makes other people feel comfortable, and honestly, they just don't notice. Anytime I've like saying something to someone and I'm like, oh, I messed up, they'd be like, what do you mean? And I'm like, oh, okay, sorry I said
just
anything.
Kidding.
Yeah. My God, if you didn't hear it, that's cool. So definitely, I agree with that. It's just so, perfectionism is just a terrible disease for sure. Because I'll get bummed out after I mess up. I feel like live performances and live streaming is the way to go to kind of kill that and just
Have you found
to get more confidence. Yes.
Have you found through time it's kind of numbed your sensitivity to beating yourself up so much about it?
I think the music business over time just like numbs your sensitivity to failure. Yeah. You're just like, okay, that didn't work out. I'm just not going to breathe for a second and it'll be fine. Definitely live music has numbed my sensitivity. Just playing in rooms of like 3 people, like who are like executives or something, and having them sit there the whole time with like their hands like this, just listening. That numbed your sensitivity to a whole lot of things. Have you done like those showcases where you just perform in front of a bunch of people in suits who don't move?
Yes.
Yes.
Many.
When you mess up in one of those situations and they're not cheering you on still, they're not like, oh yeah, you got it, nobody noticed. They were all like,
no, I've been cut off.
Did you hear that?
I've been cut off.
Oh my gosh, I would cry.
That was for keyboard stuff, but I was cut off, yeah, many times. And it's like, you never know what it is. And in acting, they teach you this too. It's funny that acting keeps coming up in this because I think it's just a very similarly brutal business. But when you're in an audition setting, I forget what I was going to say.
That just cut you off sometimes.
I don't know what I was going to say.
It's just such a brutal environment. Is that maybe what you're going to say? It's like something. It's hard. But yeah, that's definitely cut off my sensitivities just because at least those crowds aren't like that. So any show I play now, I'm like, well, they're moving a little bit, so they're still clapping at the end. So that's good.
Yeah.
I became very, honestly, a level of being jaded very early in my career because I have not had one shortcut or one handout throughout my career. Like, it has been all long, hard road stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, at least I get songs out of it. Do you feel that it kind of feeds itself back in and you can write stuff about it?
I actually just finished a song a couple days ago called Crazy. And it's about that, kind of just like feeling like you're going crazy just because you're trying to do like so many different things. And yeah, like when you're not getting like any handouts, I feel like as kids you watch those movies and these people just like know how to sing and all of a sudden they're like taken to stardom so quickly. And I feel like a lot of people go into it subconsciously with kind of that energy that things are just going to be a breeze, and then you get into it and realize that you have to make and work hard for every single opportunity, and still they're going to fall through, and still they're not going to work out, and still only 5 people could show up, but that's 5 people that weren't going to hear you sing before. That's always what I say, and those end up being really good shows too. So it's just, I don't know, a lot of music and like feeling mentally healthy in the music industry is just about releasing control and just realizing that like you're doing all you can, and all like your only responsibility as an artist is to be an artist and to like be true to who you are, and then just work hard.
Yeah, and we were talking about this when I was on your show, and it's something that I really love when it comes up, because a lot of this podcast is like, sure, you got raw talents, sure, you got music, sure, you want to do all these great things and, make cool things to impact people's lives. But it's like, at the end of the day, how I just feel in the industry, they paint this picture, like you're saying, that if you're talented, if you're good enough, you'll make it. Someone will pick you up and someone will sign you, or someone, whatever, and you're gonna be a star, kid. And that just mentality is an old school mentality that I still don't think people realize is not real. Like, it's so slim. It's
so slim, and you don't want that
you
to
could be
be
yodeling in Walmart and you get taken up, but most likely it's not going to happen.
I mean, if that's the goal, if that's the plan,
True.
it's not going to
also
work.
longevity. So yeah, you can have
Right.
hopes and dreams, but if you don't have plans and dedication,
it can't be the plan. Because if that doesn't work, if you're constantly waiting for someone to help you or to pick you up, you're not progressing. You're not challenging yourself and getting better.
I
So
think that goes to say in every aspect of life, like if you're waiting for somebody else to like make something happen for you in your life, like whether it to be happy or et cetera, then it's not going to happen. Like you're literally the only person that can make things happen for you.
Have you been in acting? Is that what I'm picking up?
Well, I've done like a little bit of acting. I want to take some classes, but I am going to have like 2 roles in some upcoming movies this year, actually. Haven't really said anything about it. I'm playing a prisoner named Tiny in this one movie. Yeah.
okay, cute.
And then I'm playing a little pop artist in another movie, so I'm really excited. So I'm getting into acting. I know that it's like people have dedicated their whole lives, and I haven't rehearsed it quite as much as I've done music, so I am like a budgeting actress. Not quite yet, but
Are you taking classes and stuff now?
I want to. They've been closed because of COVID, naturally. I don't really exactly know where to seek acting classes. I should probably just, I'm sure I could get in touch with some like actors in Nashville and see kind of where they're going.
I think there's a couple different acting techniques, so you can kind of go through that. There's like Meisner and all these Jewish dudes like made these acting methods basically, and through that you just do your research on it, and there you'll understand the difference and kind of what you're wanting to get into, and you can start there.
I'm sure there's
tons of teachers around you.
Thank you. And especially after realizing how much it goes with music, I feel like now I'm just like, let's learn how to act. Let's get involved.
Yeah, I don't regret any of my time in acting. I do feel it was a good foundation.
Yeah.
What kind of like acting did you do? Were you like shows or?
Well, I did some independent films. I was on TV a little bit, but I quit kind of early in my career. I quit when I was 16 because I didn't want to hurry up and wait anymore, and I didn't want to, cry all weekend thinking that I was some rape victim coming out for the first time. Like, you had to get so into it, and it's like, these are just auditions that you might not even get, and it just the characters were completely consuming me and affecting my heart.
So I had to go with the music.
I definitely feel that, because even like just acting in small amounts and just acting in your music and stuff leaves you emotionally drained, like putting yourself in those places. I can't imagine putting yourself in the headspace of like a rape victim or something. That's just dang, I've never thought about that. Actors are strong.
Yeah, or not. I mean, you think of some sad things like Heath Ledger, between really tough roles, and he offed himself, and it's like so tragic. The mind is such a powerful thing. Like we're a little demented as musicians. Like being an actor is next level because you're not even able to be yourself all the time. It's crazy.
A lot of dissociation and stuff.
Yeah, which is dangerous.
Because like we're in music, it's all about identity, and in acting, it's almost like changing your identity all the time.
Scary stuff.
Dang.
Yeah.
But so yeah, take it with a grain of salt. Like do it. Apply it to you, like it's good to have those skills, but no, you probably don't want to go into method acting.
It was crazier than I already am. Yeah. Not be good. Maybe I'll make some cool albums though. What if an actor like also made music and like did a whole concept album with like different characters? I think that would be sick.
I'm sure it maybe has been done.
I bet it has. I'll look into it.
There might be. Before I let you go, is there anything you want to shout out and tell us about where we can find you and all that good stuff?
Yes, thank you. So my Instagram is just Juliana Hale, which you probably see up there, but I'm gonna spell it JulianaHale. My Twitter is the Juliana Hale. My website's julianahale.com. Just Google Juliana Hale and I will be there. And I just dropped a new remix. and it's of my song Dangerous. It's like a heavy mid-tempo bass remix, so it's like pretty sick. Super into that kind of music. And there's a visual, so if you go on my Instagram, there's a link on the bio. And I'm also running a contest right now for like a month subscription of Netflix and Hulu, I'm pretty sure, and a couple other prizes. So that's on my page. So if you like to win things and you like music, I got you.
Yes. Please go follow her and check her out. A lot of Boss Pod is about, talking about these deeper aspects of being a creator, but also supporting the creators that we're talking to. So be sure to follow her. And again, you can go to shenova.co/bosspod for all the guests' social links that are going to be here today. So thank you so much for being here,
Thank
Juliana.
you
You're
for
so
having
beautiful.
me.
Of
So
course.
are you. All right,
Have a great
have
a great rest of your Sunday.
You too.
I love.
Bye.
Getting into our next guest, who has been a long time friend of mine, and I mean long, like I think I met him when I was 12 or 13 max. Like I've known this guy for a really long time. He's known me through many phases of my life. So he's a kindred spirit and basically family at this point. So he started his career at just 14 on American Idol, landing in the top 24 finalists of season 4. After the show, the singer was brought into a boy band and then shortly began working for top producers and songwriters such as Scott Storch, who has made hits for Christina Aguilera, Chris Brown, Beyonce, and so many more. With this experience, he began writing and producing his own music that has taken on a synth pop sound with male catchy vocals on top. Please give a warm Boss Pod welcome to Tempo Heart. Hello, darling.
Hey, how's it going?
Doing good. How are you?
Pretty good. So, my setup is a little weird here. It's very janky, so.
Ghetto's how we do is good. This tripod that I have you on breaks all the time.
Yeah, well, mine is kind of like a makeshift. I don't even know what this is. I literally tied my phone.
So you've been in the studio during this quarantine time, I know, making stuff. You produce your own things. So I kind of talked about where you came from, but tell people where you're at now and what you're working on.
Yeah, so right now, I'm working on a new album. During the whole COVID thing, I was like, well, I've got all these songs that I've been sitting on for years and years.
Don't we all?
Kind of talking about, the perfection, what kind of really holds you back. That's kind of where I was at with that. So now I was like, finally, I'm just going to concentrate on this. And also something good that happened with just recently, boss of mine, he owns a studio and it's out in Palm Desert and like Palm Springs area. And I just started working there, got a lot of clients that I've been working on their stuff. Whenever I'm not working with them, then I'm working on my own album.
So working with independent artists like that, I mean, I'm sure that's helpful in so many ways, but while you're making an album of your own, I'm sure just so fruitful and new ideas and like having to be innovative with someone else's ideas in the room. Has that helped you kind of get out of your head a little bit on your own album?
Yes, it definitely has. There's been a lot of clients that come in there and they've got these amazing songs and I'm like, wow, I should be some of the songs I'm like, can I cover that?
Nice. Okay, so you're working with some good songwriters then.
Really? Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, that's a blessing though that you have a place to go and you're not having to work totally from home, which I don't mind, but if you don't have the studio set up, it's tough. It's tough.
I had one when I was living in Orange County. COVID hit and I got kind of stuck down here in Menifee, which most people don't know where that's at, but it's,
I didn't.
So it's still Southern California, but I'm moving back to Orange County this week. So
Okay.
Everything is just kind of in boxes right now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I just noticed you had your logo on the computer behind you. You are so cool.
Oh yeah. I made
That's
that
amazing.
a while ago.
It might be kind of janky from behind the camera, but in front of it, you got some cool stuff going on. You look legit.
Awesome.
You look legit.
Awesome.
So yeah, as far as perfectionism and adding that element of producing your own things, because Juliana was experiencing the same things, but having to be in a room with other people, adding at least some kind of feedback to pull us out of that. When you're totally self-motivated and totally self-making this stuff, what kind of challenges have you faced and how have you overcome them?
Oh gosh. I mean, yeah, there's so many challenges with trying to write. And I think what it is a motivational thing. Yeah, it's definitely a motivational thing. Trying to get the motivation to do it yourself and trying to stay inspired is what it is. Yeah, so and so it's been really nice, being able to work at a studio and seeing people that are actually coming in who are inspired and motivated to do their own thing, and really pushes me.
Well, it makes me wonder because I have my own hefty archive of songs that I haven't touched in years. Sometimes that to me is more daunting and more of a task than just starting the freak over. Do you feel that maybe because you're kind of going back to things that you think have potential and having to rework them, do you think that's maybe kind of putting a hiccup in the process?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's been a few songs that I started on them and I'm like, oh, this sounds great. Then I try to go back to them and writing the lyrics for them or whatever. Like I felt so inspired at the time of making it. They're unfinished. So lyrically and with the melodies, as far as like the music production goes, everything kind of falls into place, it seems. But the thing with pop music, and I think you can, agree, is that it's with songwriting with pop music, it's so difficult because you've only got four chords to work with. You're trying to make it sound a little bit different than everybody else. So yeah, and you're trying to talk about things that, that are personal to you, but also to, obviously you want other people to relate.
How have you found that balance? Like, I know maybe start with maybe a song that you're working on right now and one that you're excited about that maybe you're finishing up and kind of how you got there with it. Because I know songs can be such a vulnerable process to get them out.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So one of the songs, and I think I'm gonna make it into a single. Yeah, so I started off with like a beat, started with the music production on that, and I was like, what is this going to sound like? What am I gonna write about? And I was just like sitting actually here and thought, starting to think about like frequencies and things like that. The song is called Love Hurts.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like love HZ, so like love hurts.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's
And so
cool.
it's talking about like, yeah, it's kind of like how can I explain it? It's some of the lyrics are like not on the same frequency as you. You're not on the same frequency as me. Things like that. So it's weird because inspiration just kind of comes out of nowhere sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And so
No,
I think that's what it is.
That's a great tool too, is kind of picking a theme. And for me, with boundaries like that, I actually flourish. Like if I know that I have to stay within a theme or within a topic, I'm actually better than if I have all the options in the world. I can't decide on anything. So
Right.
I heard some advice from a producer through the Ableton Instagram randomly. He was just talking about how right away, once he gets an idea and he goes to save the project for the first time, he gives it a title and he thinks about it for a second. He's like, once I save this with this title, that's what it's going to be about. I'm never going to change it, because once you give yourself too many options and too many outs to start over and to redo, it gets out of hand, man.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
In the beginning, I just started naming stuff like just random stuff. Name 1, project 2, like that kind of thing,
Oh, no.
which really works. It really works for other people, but for me, like I'm so like ADD, ADHD, AF, that I have to like have names and things like that to
Which I don't know if he's here anymore, but Sean Bowe is who I wrote ADHD AF with, and we started with the title. And it was his idea. We were getting to know each other. We went out to lunch first, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, basically all you need to know about me is I'm ADHD AF. And he was like, that's the song. And then we went to the studio and we wrote it, and it was like, just like that. So starting with a title can be a really, really great tool, because then it takes out the indecisiveness and the perfectionism, overthinking stuff that we do, which I still struggle with, but hey, we're working on it. We were also kind of talking about how to get out of some of these perfectionism ways in a personal sense too, because I think it all is rooted more with who we are and just normal human things that is magnetized and put in the spotlight more being an artist. One of my demons with, you know, overthinking and perfectionism and all that, it's like I wanted to just get into maybe, you know, get in deeper nitty gritty, like other challenges that you may have faced that are similar like that.
Yeah, you mean like motivational wise, trying to...
Sure, whatever you have faced. I totally lost my ish right now, so take whatever you want to talk about is where we're going now.
Yeah, I would say probably, gosh, there's been a lot. I mean,
Well, I know that you came from American Idol.
yes.
And that was a bit of a
That was very
sensitive, kind of
challenging.
touchy.
Past for you. I know that because we've known each other for a long time, I know that there was a period where you didn't even want to be associated with that. You know, like you were so young, you're 14, you look back and you're like, God, I'm nothing like that, but everybody still labels me as that dude. How did you overcome that and find yourself in your new artist?
Yeah, so I mean, you know, you grow up through the years. The thing was, you know, right after American Idol, you know, the experience was really, it was good and it was bad. I felt like, you know, on the show I didn't really get a lot of press, I guess. And so the first time that I went on the show live, people didn't really, they didn't know who I was. So that was really difficult for me, and being that young, you know. But I was really, I was greeted really warmly by my hometown, and I was there for a very long time. But I felt like, you know, I needed to move to California so that I could explore more things, more music, and I was able to do that, and I'm so like blessed to be able to do that.
Yeah.
You know, but one of the challenges was trying to step away from that whole being associated with American Idol. But, you know, and then at the same time, like now looking at it, I think, well, I should be proud of that. That was like 200,000 people auditioned. Like, I look back at the performances and I'm like, I was not good. Like, it just wasn't good. But some people thought it was. So,
Yeah.
so I can't, you know, judge.
Yeah, and I think it sounds a little bit like the psychology of kind of what happens with young stars is there's all this attention put on you so young, and as you grow up and you want to be your own person and your own identity outside of what you've done as a kid, you were 14, you know? There's a struggle because already as a normal human, I've had no spotlight, okay? I have not experienced that at a young age at all. I already had to deal with so many identity. Like I said, like on a weekly basis, I'm like, who the freak am I? And what the freak am I doing with my life, you know? So like to add on top of that so many people know you as this, like paralyzing, like
It
frustrating
is.
too.
Yeah, you know, they put you in a box, which is, you know, unfortunately, that's kind of like what they do in the music industry anyway. You know, they want to say, oh, well, this person, you know, they look like this. So, you know, they remind us of, I don't know, Prince,
Right.
or
Right.
this person does this. So they're like Katy Perry, you know,
They're
and it's like,
so good at that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I always found myself wondering, like, well, should I be, you know, relating myself to something like that? Like, I don't think I really look like anybody. My music is a lot different than what I feel like is out there, you know?
Keep it to the songs, you know, and I think I've struggled with finding my identity within my songs as well. But at the same time, throughout all my phases of life, I allowed my music to identify me rather than the other way around, because to me, I want to honor the song. Like, nobody, at the end of the day, if they hear my song on the radio and they love it, it's not because it's my face singing it. You know what I mean? It has nothing to do with me. If they relate to it, it's because of the song itself. So if you follow that, and I think that sounds like what you're doing with finding the songs that you started with that resonate with you now, I think that's where you're going to find the gold and feel good in who you are now. So do you have anything to add to that, or do you have anything that you want to share with us on where we can find you and all that good stuff too?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Tempo Heart. I believe it's on here. Yep, it's on here. You know, and also that I've got an album coming out, actually a single, kind of like a promo single, I want to say. I'm going to show it on Instagram, and that will be on my birthday, actually,
Oh,
June 27th. Yeah, so
yay,
it's
that's
coming up.
soon.
Yeah, yeah.
Fantastic.
So,
And just a pre-plug, which, it hasn't happened yet, but it's happening. You and I are doing a collab.
yes,
On your
I was
album.
just gonna get to that. I'm
Yeah.
really excited about it.
Me too, and I'm sorry that I haven't pulled up the stems yet because I know it's on. You have tossed the ball to me at this point, and I've waited like 2 weeks, so
I'm
We
gonna get
get
to that
busy.
soon, but
It's all good.
yeah.
yeah. We're in it. We're in it. So thank you so much for being here with me.
Yeah, thanks for having
I
me.
appreciate
It was
you.
fun.
And Boss Pod, seriously, all my weirdos here, be sure to follow him. And I will leave his social media in the show notes for the people who are listening after the fact and on the YouTube description as well. So thank you for being
Thank
here.
you.
Bye, sweetie.
Bye.
So that was fun, mate. I feel a little bit frazzled today. I suppose that's where my brain's at, but ADHD AF, I have an excuse, I suppose. But two really great conversations and really great people, both hustlers and making good music. So if you can support them by following them, please do if you have Instagram and all that. To wrap up this episode of Boss Pod, I want to remind you again, you can go to shenova.co/bosspod for this episode and all previous episodes. Go binge listen / watch them. These episodes are podcasts and distributed on all podcast outlets, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all that. This is recorded live on Instagram on Sunday, and then Monday it comes out. All the episodes are also uploaded to YouTube, so subscribe to my YouTube, youtube.com/shenova. Oh, and if you want to support the podcast, find my Patreon, patreon.com/shenova. If you can give $1 a month, whatever you can do. If you can't do it, cool, but if you can, that just helps put food in my mouth so that I can be here on Sundays. And I hope that you have a good rest of your Sunday. I'm Shenova, signing out of Boss Pod, episode 7, Conversations with Creators. See you guys next week.